Hey guys, what's going on? I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to another video. Today we are once again covering some crazy new hacks created by none other than Eternal himself. And I know this is my third video in the last few months speaking about Eternal and the Trouser Streak add-on, but what can I say? He creates really interesting and powerful mods that cause a lot of chaos, and this just makes for good content. Today we are going to speak about a new stash hunting module that is being used to find all sorts of items all over servers like 2b2t. Someone even found some of my own personal kits that I duped back in 2018. In this video I want to take a technical look at this new module, explain how it works, and talk about some of the crazy finds that have been posted since it was released. During my research for this video I may actually have found a way to bypass this new module, allowing users to safely stash items again. This is definitely going to be an interesting video, but before we dive in I want to give a huge shout out to the absolute legends who support me through YouTube memberships. Your support lets me focus on creating content I am truly passionate about rather than just chasing views. I believe that this ultimately leads to better content for everyone. If you enjoy my videos and want to support what I do, please check out the perks down below. Every bit of support helps and it genuinely does mean the world to me. Thanks for making these videos possible. Now let's get into the video. Okay, so to start, let's talk about the new activated spawner detector module. Specifically, let's talk about what this module does. When enabled, the module scans for mob spawners within a set distance. If a spawner is found, the module tries to determine whether the spawner is activated or deactivated. An activated spawner would be one where a player has been within 16 blocks of the spawner, while a deactivated spawner would be one where no player has ever been within the 16 block range. You might be wondering why it matters if a spawner has had player activity or not, and this is a good question. On pretty much every anarchy server, players use mob spawners and other naturally generated structures as a hiding spot for valuable items. These hidden caches rely on a concept known as security through obscurity, and here's why this works so well. Players with gear and good items tend to ignore mob spawners, mineshafts, and their associated chests because the default loot just isn't worth the effort of mining down to collect. When already established players see structures like this, they often assume the chests contain nothing valuable and move on. The sheer quantity of these naturally generated chests adds to this. If they were super rare, players may be more inclined to investigate them, but so many of these structures are generated and they are generally just ignored. By hiding items in these chests, players can keep their valuable items hidden in plain sight. Since the spawners and mineshafts naturally blend into the environment, the chances of someone randomly checking these spots are generally pretty low. This technique is used by a lot of players. It's a popular way of hiding small stashes for easy re-gearing while at spawn. This technique is also used by a lot of kit or item shops. When you purchase items with real world money, your order is often delivered by baritone bots and hidden within naturally generated chests near spawn or along highways for quick and easy pickup. When Eternal first told FitMC about this, his exact response was, "Wow, that's insane." And here is a clip of FitMC talking about this very technique of hiding items within these naturally generated chests.
What about having access to your valuables? If you put chests or other containers close to your bed, it could compromise your location, ruining the entire purpose of hiding your respawn point. This brings us to our next topic, hiding items safely. People incorrectly assume that building a bunker underground is all it takes to stay safe. Unfortunately, this doesn't work. The majority of base hunters and griefers will never bother to check these naturally generated chests, especially if there are no signs of tampering such as mined blocks or a broken spawner. Utilizing these natural containers makes it far easier to hide items.
Anyways, back to present day, the new activated spawner detector module has led to some incredible finds. Here are a few screenshots of stashes that were found within the first 24 hours of the module being released. And somehow by pure chance, Paul Steve, a well-known 2b2t streamer and a player that I have mentioned on this channel before, happened to find a stash with a shulker kit that I personally made and duped back in 2018. Before I can explain how the detection module works, let's cover the basics of how mob spawners function within Minecraft. Mob spawners only activate when a player is within 16 blocks of them. When a spawner is activated, it uses a timer called spawn delay to determine when it will next spawn mobs. By default, the spawn delay value is set to 20 ticks, which is equal to 1 second, assuming the server is running at the optimal rate of 20 ticks per second. When a player enters the 16 block range, the spawn delay starts counting down from 20 ticks. Once the timer reaches 0, the spawner releases a set of mobs and resets the spawn delay value to a random number between 200 and 800 ticks. As long as the player stays within these 16 blocks, the spawner will continue to spawn mobs every 10 to 40 seconds based on the new random value of spawn delay. So, as we have just established, this module is designed to detect whether a player has been within 16 blocks of a spawner or not. Here's how it works. The module scans for spawner blocks within a specific area around the player. If a spawner is found, the module reads its NBT data, specifically looking for the spawn delay value. And as we just noted, the default spawn delay value for an unvisited spawner is always exactly 20 ticks. With this in mind, it is safe to assume that if the spawn delay value is not equal to 20 ticks, then the timer has started counting down at some point in the past, indicating that a player has been within 16 blocks of the spawner. If the spawn delay value is still 20 ticks, the spawner has not been activated, suggesting that no player has ever entered within the 16 block activation range. This simple check helps identify whether a spawner is untouched or if it has been visited by a player. Now, just to make sure that there is no confusion, this module cannot tell you if a spawner or naturally generated chest has a stash hidden within it, but the module can eliminate cases where no player has been within the 16 by 16 area. This essentially narrows down the search to only include chests that have had player activity, and this drastically improves the efficiency of hunting for base stashes. While researching the activated spawner detector module for this video, I found myself wondering, could this module be bypassed? As much as I enjoy stash hunting, I also enjoy having a reliable way to stash my items. My first thought was to use a module like Blink. The idea was straightforward: enable the Blink module while standing outside of the 16 block range, run into the spawner's range, deposit the items, then run back out. Then disable Blink, hoping the server wouldn't register the activation since you technically did not exist in the spawner's proximity. In theory, this could allow you to hide items in a chest near a spawner without the spawner ever registering a player's presence. This would mean the activated spawner detector module wouldn't detect any player activity, keeping the stash hidden, and it may even act as a deterrent to potential stash hunters. Unfortunately, this idea did not work. You can't interact with the chest while Blink is enabled, and you certainly can't do so from 16 blocks away, but the concept was intriguing, so I reached out to a few friends to see if a theoretical workaround existed. To my surprise, my friends suggested that there might be a way to bypass the module, but it would be extremely complicated and potentially impractical. Here is a demonstration of something similar. This could in theory be adapted and perfected for this use case, but that's a topic for another video. Determined to explore this further, I contacted Constructor, the brain behind the discontinued but once very popular Lambda client. I asked him if there was a way to block packets to prevent the spawner from registering a player's presence, and here was his response. Blocking a packet won't work because the server logic, including spawn delay, is handled server side, so the delay will still update regardless. I think I have a better idea. If you stay in range within 16 blocks and leave exactly on the tick where spawn delay is equal to 20, it won't reset since the spawner only updates while you are in range. This works naturally with the server logic, but timing this perfectly will be tricky. I then reached out to Hub, another big brain friend of mine, and we brainstormed possible workarounds. Ultimately, we agreed that Constructor's timing-based method was the most feasible option. With this idea in mind, I spent the next 5 hours digging through the code of the Trouser Streak add-on and the Meteor Client's Blink module. I cobbled together my first ever Meteor Client add-on with the goal of making it possible to leave the spawner's range at the exact tick where spawn delay is equal to 20. Here's the theory behind this module. Spawners have a spawn delay value which is equal to 20 ticks by default. As long as a player stays within 16 blocks, the spawn delay continues counting down to 0. If you leave the spawner's range precisely when spawn delay hits 20 20 ticks, the countdown is frozen, making the spawner appear deactivated. Here's how my concept add-on works. Standing 15 blocks away from the spawner, enable the module and walk away from the spawner. The module holds some of your movement packets while monitoring the spawn delay value. When spawn delay hits 20 ticks, the module releases the movement packets, teleporting you just outside of this range. If everything goes to plan, this freezes the spawner with the spawn delay of 20 ticks, making it look like the spawner was never activated. In theory, you would only need to teleport about half a block for this to work. You could also use this method to deactivate any spawner that has already been activated. Despite the promising concept, my add-on has some major limitations. There are 20 ticks per second, meaning each tick lasts 0.05 seconds. This gives you an incredibly narrow window to get the timing right. Network latency or server TPS and anti-cheat systems can all interfere with this timing. My concept add-on often misses this timing window, creating the illusion that it worked when in reality it did not, and you might only realize that it failed after relogging into the server. Even with these issues, the add-on does occasionally get the timing right, which I think proves the concept. I am not by any means proud of the code itself, but it does show that with some better logic, better timing, and perhaps an automatic retry system, this could evolve into a useful module for hiding your tracks after stashing items. When I shared this idea with Eternal, he took another look at spawner mechanics to see if he could come up with another way to detect if a spawner had been visited or not, and he came to the conclusion that spawn delay is the only field that could be used. So in theory, this is a solid bypass to the activated spawner detector module. However, in practice, the complexities of perfect timing with ping, server TPS, and desync make this bypass very complicated. And with all of this said, I don't want to take away from what Eternal found. The man keeps finding and creating powerful and unique modules that cause a lot of chaos on servers, and I personally think that's pretty cool. It is also worth noting that even if the theory behind my module works, and it somehow works on servers, most players are not going to go through the effort of returning to their stashes just to deactivate the spawners. So Eternal's module still provides a lot of value, and I'm sure a lot of stashes are still going to be found well after this video goes live. In conclusion, I have massive respect for Eternal. He is constantly pushing the boundaries of what we all thought was possible, and the speed at which he theorizes, develops, and releases these insane modules is genuinely ridiculous. This level of ingenuity is what keeps the Anarchy community alive and thriving. Whether you're hunting stashes or hoarding them, the constant shifts in playstyle and meta are exactly what make Anarchy servers like 2B2T and hack clients like Trouser Streak so interesting. Anyways, that is more than enough rambling for one day. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing if you have not done so already, and as always, I have been your boy KiLAB, peace in the Middle East.